Okay. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and kick it off and we can just let Rob in and he can jump in. So Abby and Will, I'm so sad to see you get eliminated in such a terrible way. How are you reacting to everything?
I think it has been up and down. Like the whole first part of the season, so exciting. Last night, frankly, the second episode comes on, I just burst into tears. Like I thought that I'd come to peace with, like come to terms with it, and it just hits you like a ton of bricks. So I think on and off moments.
Yeah, I would agree. It's like Abby said, it's been so exciting to watch everything, but you know this moment's coming.
Yeah.
And when it hit last night, I don't think there was really a way to prepare for it. Because when you actually see yourself get eliminated that way, and you see us sitting in the hotel room separate, it kind of brings back all those kind of tough, hard feelings that we went through then. So definitely a crushing way to go home.
But still grateful for the experience.
Yeah.
Of course, your positivity, I think, was something that I think stuck to a lot of people, especially as longtime fans. Can you talk a little bit about your love of The Amazing Race and how it got you onto the show?
I love The Amazing Race. We love The Amazing Race. Like, it's just so part of like our lives. We watch like every season of the show for the last, I don't know, 15 years, 20 years. But I think it was just a dream come true. Like, I don't know how you can't be just like so excited the whole time you're on it. It's such a dream.
It really was. I mean, since sitting on a couch in Abby's house when we were 16 years old, whatever it was, like planning our strategy, what we do, to actually get there and be able to do it, it's absolutely surreal. And you could see it every single time they showed Abby, because we might not have gotten a lot of time, but every time we did it, Abby was screaming with excitement just about.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, want to live vicariously through you when you're that excited about it. So I would imagine it lived up to expectations.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was, to get there and like really experience it, be in the middle of it. It was very overwhelming, incredibly stress inducing, but also one of the coolest experience we've ever had.
But like, okay, all of my stress was leading up to that moment. Also, hey Rob, I feel like we should.
Hi, Abby Wells.
Nice to meet you. But all my stress was leading up to it, because like the second we get that call that there's a chance, my hopes are up there. And so until it was confirmed, I was just like, okay, try and keep the hopes like bearable, so that if it doesn't happen, I'm not just crushed. And so by the time we got on there, I think I was just like ready to go. And that's when his set in. So we kind of did this balancing act of like, he became really anxious and I kind of calmed down and got excited. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, Abby's strategy for everything, whether it was a challenge, whether it's real life, is like, go ahead and face it immediately and go through all the stress. And I'm like, it's not here yet. I'll worry about the stress down the road. But when you all of a sudden get on the race and you're sitting there at the starting line, you're like, oh, there's no pushing this down the road. I gotta come to terms with this now.
But a dream. Every expectation was met, except winning.
Yeah, that one was cut short.
Well, it really seemed like you two were starting to heat up at the time that you got eliminated from the race. That had you made an adjustment to do something different?
I think for us, it was a big, like we were saying, I was just so overwhelmed. Abby was so overwhelmed. There's a ton of stress when you start. And as like that super fan side, it was like, just don't go home. We just want to experience more of this. And so when we started to get past it in that third leg, when we could finally start moving past how overwhelmed and stressed and kind of panicked we were, and just be like, we're here, let's freaking make the most of it, let's enjoy it, and let's try to kick some butt. That's when it started to settle in a little bit.
Yeah, you almost have to get past that like super fan point of like the first 2-3 legs. It's all just like, oh my gosh, we're here. I don't want to leave. And then all of a sudden, like, I mean, we both grew up playing sports, so like super competitive, like love competition. So I think once that kind of settled of like, okay, we're on the race, but we're also in a competition. And that mindset was starting to kind of flick on, and just the like chaos of, I can't believe we're here, was settling in.
So what's the biggest surprise that you clearly knew the show very well, you knew the competitive elements. What was the biggest thing that surprised you about being on the race as opposed to watching it?
All the strategy goes out the window immediately. I mean, I will say it until I'm blue in the face. The one strategy that would have been so easy to stick to is we do not dance. And what do? or I do.
Yeah.
The second we get the option to dance, I'm like, Will, we can do this. I don't know why. I mean, luckily it didn't send us home, but like every strategy we talked about, I feel like I forgot.
Yeah, it's just out the door. I think for me, it's the level of stress and like how much adrenaline is pumping through your body the whole time. It sets your brain just haywire. And so I thought I'd be able to control myself a little bit better. I was totally out of whack.
Now, it seemed like at a certain point that you two also made a decision, hey, we are going to run our own race. We're not going to run with the pack. What led up to you two feeling that was the way to go?
So that, like, when we were in Italy running that piece of the leg, we were kind of building confidence. I don't know why I'd screwed up Ducati, but we were still alive and we had gotten lucky. So we were like, okay, Abby just did great sculpting the statue. And we had kind of figured out our directions a little bit better. So that's point specifically, we were like, I think we can just do this. Like, let's just crank this out and let's make that jump. Let's take that big step. And fortunately, it worked out for us.
And I think like we are confident in ourselves. Like we're both very physical. I like to think we both are pretty smart. And like at that point, he did have the directions figured out. So there wasn't like a strategy element to working with another team. If the strategy element presented itself that it made sense to work with another team, I wouldn't be opposed.
So, what was your favorite moment? Do you have a one single favorite, or is it too hard to choose?
I think my favorite moment was watching Abby yodel in Austria. I think that scene was just absolutely incredible. Abby looked 100% the part of a little Austrian farmhand calling in the cows. And you also, just to see how excited she is over there yodeling, she dives into everything 100%. And so when she's over there dancing, you can hear her yodeling from across the field. I think that was my favorite moment.
And I mean, talk about an amazing race scene, right? Like you've got the costume, you've got the beautiful view, you're doing something that you never in your life thought you would do. Like I didn't have yodel in Austria up there on my bucket list, but man, am I glad I checked it off. So yeah, that was definitely my favorite moment too.
Were there any of the other teams that you got along with especially well?
All the teams were fantastic. And like, it's kind of hard when you're running the leg because you don't have a ton of time to sit there and really get to know them. But like early on, we made good friends with Derek and Claire. We just got to talk to them a little bit and realized we had similarities, and they're great. Lewis and Michelle were fantastic. And especially watching back that last episode, it's so hard to watch. Like they especially showed them call us out and just say love us. And that means so much watching it back. That was a hard episode to watch, and just knowing that love is still getting put out there was huge for us.
So do you think if you got a second chance, I think I know the answer to this question, but if you got a second chance to do it again, would you?
I'm like, CBS, call me in 1 minute and I will pack my bag and I will be on a plane.
I mean, if there's ever another unfinished business season, I think the two of you would be certain contenders for that.
We sure hope so. I mean, because to your earlier point, it did feel like we were kind of gaining our legs and like we were trending in the right direction. I felt like we were figuring it out, and it just stinks that we never got a chance to peak. And it's hard, like even when somebody gets a bad cab driver or like something unfortunate does happen, there is kind of this element of maybe you can fight back from it, even sometimes with an injury. But I think what was so hard and what makes it feel so unfinished is there was no fighting back from it. Like there was no overcoming. It's like you were positive, that is it.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
So yeah, definitely we would do it again. I sure hope we could too.
Yeah, I hope you do as well. Will and Abby, this has been so nice to get to talk to you, and we wish you all the best. So thanks very much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you all so much.
Thank
Thank you.
Thanks.